Hello and welcome to the Royal Survivor 45 podcast. I'm your host, King, joined here by King's mom. Hi, Mom.
Hi, honey.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm sore from exercising too much.
Oh, well, I'm not.
So, did you enjoy this episode of Survivor?
Not at all.
Okay. I think I know why. And we'll get to it.
Yeah. No, it wasn't one of my favorites.
Not mine either, but it was still fun. Let's
dive into it.
Yeah, we get back from Tribal Council.
Right.
After Caleb, Mr. has everybody's target against him, blocks 11 votes for him. He says it's 12, but it's actually 11 because everybody voted for him because nobody could save him. But he saved himself. So
with the shot in the dark.
And Jemaya went home instead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he no longer has the shot in the dark, but he survived, and she was upset.
Well, yeah, because he called her out before the voting even began.
That too, yeah.
You know, so, and then she kind of gave back to him,
Mm-hmm.
or shot back at him some.
Yeah.
But, all those votes that he fought off with that shot in the dark. He was safe with the shot in the dark.
It was luck, but it was still, to his credit, he pulled it off. Yep. So, yeah.
Well, what else? He knew. He heard rumblings of his name and that. So what? You don't have an idol. You don't have an advantage. That's your last chance.
And so he's still here, and as we see, he's making his rounds, trying to see if he can get some allies. And it does seem. I mean, Emily doesn't want him to go for sure. They're tight knit, and he's been bonding with Katurah to an extent, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
She at least. A couple of Bello value having him there. Because she's just so gung-ho about getting rid of Bruce. And Bruce is gung-ho about getting rid of Caleb. And her to an extent. Jake, we also start seeing more of. He seems, because, while we're at camp, he doesn't want Caleb to go.
Right.
He's in favor of him staying. He views him as an ally.
Mm-hmm.
It's, for most of Bello, the difficulty stems from Bruce being overly paranoid, as the only one Bruce seems to really trust is Kelly. But he also just kind of wants to tell the rest of them what to do.
Yeah.
And he wants Caleb gone. And the rest of them want Caleb as a number so they can go after the Reba people who they believe to be sticking together. So.
Right. Bruce actually, called out Katurah for being on the fence about voting for Caleb.
That's right. And he says that in front of people that aren't in their alliance.
Yeah, the old Reba people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then she says, I wasn't on the fence about voting Caleb. And somebody goes, is that Caleb right there? And he walks up to, she just can't win either way.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But yeah, he definitely calls her out. It's funny, we started out with Bruce being kind of like a nice, goofy guy, and Katurah just seeming like a stick in the mud. And now it's swapped to where we're seeing more of this, villainous side to Bruce, where he's like, oh, we just got to get rid of this person, and you're an idiot if you don't listen to me. And he's like that, and nobody likes him anymore. And Katurah's like, see what I've been telling you? So...
Yeah. Yeah, she still hasn't softened to him at all.
No. But now it's getting harder to blame her for it because he's showing more of his true colors, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, he might be changing his game. Like, he came in with a certain way he was going to act, silly, goofy, make people laugh.
Yeah.
And he's changing that, and I don't think it's for the better.
It's working against him, actually, because before everybody got along with him, and he was doing it to not seem like a threat. But now, there are people going, he's been in this game 14 hours once before, and he thinks he's like a celebrity or whatever. And then they call him out, and they're like, we're getting the dad talk, where he talks down to them like he's a parent and they're a child. And yeah, he's older, but,
he's not that old.
No, and in this game, they're supposed to be equals, not where he's... talking down to them. So I could see why that turns people off. And
sure.
And he trusts Kelly. Kelly feels like she's in the middle because she wants him as an ally because he trusts her and he's like a meat shield. But at the same time, for the sake of stopping her alliance from fracturing, she's like, we might have to get rid of him. So...
Yeah, well, she even says in her confessionals that it's getting harder and harder to be aligned with him because of his antics or whatever you want to call him.
He's becoming kind of self-destructive.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
That's about as much as I remember. Not a lot happened at camp early on. I don't know if you have anything else.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's Well, the one thing we should mention is that Austin has his idol now because he sacrificed his vote at Tribal.
That's right.
That's why there were only 11 votes against Caleb and not 12.
And that's right. And Austin says he's worried because he said the only one who might have caught on would be Drew. He's like, but if anyone else does, they'll know something's up. He's like, because they're just saying 12 votes. He's like, but there wasn't 12 votes.
Right.
And we even see Emily trying to like think it out or whatever, but it never leads to anything. But we do see Austin saying like, you know, I have this immunity idol and I have this steal a vote. He's like, so I got the power. I just can't let people know I have it. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you just want to go to the challenge then?
Yeah, because there wasn't really much else to talk about, you know. So yeah, there was an individual immunity, the first individual immunity challenge, right?
Yes, it is.
Reward.
It is for individual immunity. However, Jeff kind of pulls the rug out from under everybody again and says, you are competing with and against each other to an extent.
Right.
There's 12 people left. He's like, you're going to be randomly paired off or put into 2 groups of 6. And then it's the challenge where it's the tall pole with a few like lines in it with like a half inch or whatever there, and you just hold on to the pole as long as you can. The minute your foot touches the sand, you're out.
Right.
We've seen this multiple times.
Yes.
It's one of those endurance ones that does not last very long usually because there's nothing to really hold on to. So
yeah, it's like it's so small, these indentations on the pole, that you can barely get your toe in there.
You get half a toe.
Hold on. Yeah.
It's either that or you like wrap your arms and legs around it like your boyfriend's picking you up. So
yeah.
One or the other, and that's kind of it. And he tells them, so in the blue group and the red group, whoever holds on the longest out of those 2 groups of 6, that person's immune. So 2 people can have the necklace this time.
Right.
He's like, the person who hangs on the longest all together, they and their group of 6 get to go to the sanctuary where good things happen, as Jeff likes to make it a thing. So
tacos and soft drinks.
Yep. They'll also go to Tribal Council second, because as we find out, both groups are going to Tribal, and that means 2 people are going home.
Oh.
Insert Kendra's face. Because she's the one who has those expressions.
Yeah, for sure.
In addition, the first person voted out of the 2 does not make the jury, which is such a bummer. Like, we're finally at the point where because everybody wants to get to that point, because at least if you do get voted out, you're on the jury, you get paid more, and you get a say in who wins and everything. And everybody, you could see everyone was really bummed because they thought they finally made it, and they're saying, nope, there's one more person who's not basically in the second half of the game for the entire time.
Right. Yep.
Which I thought that was kind of sucky, but it adds drama.
It does, yeah. And it adds fight.
Mm-hmm.
You're really going to fight for it, through this challenge to try and win that immunity.
So, you want to just say who's on what group?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got them right. So we had the one group, which was Jake D, Austin, Julie, Caleb, and Katura. And the second group was Bruce, Sifu, Kendra, Kelly, Drew, and Emily.
Okay. And so, everybody climbs up on the pole. They hold on. Within about 20 seconds, Emily just hits the ground, which I just find worth noting because the show's really trying to paint her from this like main character perspective, and she's the first person out. Not that she can't be good at other things. Some people who are really good at some challenges are really terrible at others.
Mm-hmm.
I just found that kind of funny that it's like, dang, like that did not take long at all. She just couldn't hold on. So.
That's the thing. The different challenges. Like I've seen her with these obstacle courses, and she's just gung ho,
flying through.
Really trying her hardest. This is a very particular challenge. I think I try to put myself in it in my younger days, maybe, and I'm thinking, oh man, that's you got to be strong.
You got to bear hug a pole.
Legs, yeah. So
I'd like to think I could be up there for a little while, but not like, some of them go like, 15 minutes. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a lot in Survivor terminology because we've seen people hold on for hours in some things, but in the, you don't think holding a pole is as hard as it really is.
Right. Yeah.
So 15 minutes can feel more like 15 hours, in the heat and all that.
Yeah,
so.
That's it. The heat, or a bug lands on you or something. Lots of things can change your position on the pole in that.
I mean, and in traditional Survivor fashion, a lot of the big dudes start dropping quickly. I notice, Jake, Austin, Sifu, they just. I mean, we get down, most of them are down. We get to like a final 5. I'm going to try and think if I can do this. I believe it's Katurah, Dee, Kelly, Drew, and Caleb. I think that's the last 5 people up there.
Okay.
Something like that. Because I know Caleb gets pretty far, and it seems like pretty intense, and then
I think you're right. Yeah,
okay.
According to, I tried to write down who went out when, so I think you're right. Yeah.
Caleb drops, and then Jeff says, "Oh, we got a showdown between the 2 groups." Drew did better than I thought, but eventually he flops too, which means Kelly, she gets individual immunity,
right,
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Then eventually Katurah falls. And she does. A lot of them don't even fall. They just climb down. They're like, "I'm gonna fall if I do," because we've seen people fall from these things before, and it looks painful. So I think they've learned to just like, "I can't do it. I'm gonna climb down."
Yeah.
So yeah, Katurah goes. So that means Dee and her really long toes.
Yeah.
Because she compliments it. She's like, "These toes help me hold on."
Yeah.
Even if they're weird looking. So which means Dee wins individual immunity. So then the 2 ladies, they face off. And it goes for, I mean, everyone goes in like 7 minutes or something like that in the beginning, but those 2 hold on for like 17 minutes,
right,
Jeff says. And then eventually Kelly can't take it anymore and she's down. So,
right.
So that means Dee and her group, she gets immunity, they all go to tribal second, and they get to go eat food. So
right.
That's the big thing.
The other twist about this was that the group that lost, which was Kelly's group, even though she has immunity, they had to go to the old Lulu camp.
Right.
They instead of going back to their main camp.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, they go to another beach. And so they go there. The other group goes to the sanctuary. At the sanctuary, there's not really any strategy. It's not until they come back that they start talking. There, they just eat and say, "Yeah, let's have a nice time."
Yeah.
At the Lulu beach with the losers.
Good one.
Well, that's how Jeff would say. He's like he's like the tribe that comes in second, or otherwise known as the losers. I find it fun. I'm like, that's so like underhandedly harsh to word it that way. Like, no, duh.
Losers.
But they go there. Kelly apologizes to everyone, saying she just couldn't hold on anymore. Nobody takes it out on them. They're like, "Hey, you did great." So,
right.
And yeah, what are you gonna do? Bash her for blowing the food for you? It's individual game anyway, so you can't do it anymore. But
right.
So they all start strategizing. We have, let me get this right. I think we have 3 ex-Bello, 1 Lulu and Emily, and then 2 Reba. Or from the original, tribes. People are still dividing themselves up like that. So off the bat, Drew goes up to Bruce and says, "I'm gonna do whatever I have to I'm willing to do whatever to stay here." He realizes they could be in, at best it's like 3-3, or he's in the minority, basically. He's like, "I will blindside Sifu if I have to," because Sifu's not really in with the Rebas. It's the main 4, and then he's kind of on the outs, even though they keep him around kind of thing.
Yeah, he doesn't strategize much.
No.
Yeah, so...
We don't see a lot of him. He's just kind of the quirky comic relief person.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's never... It always felt like of those 6 of the original Rebas, it was always that 4 and then the 2 that just happened to be on the group with him, because those 2 would have been voted out first anyway.
Yeah.
If they ever lost.
Right.
And the fact that he's made it this far, Sifu even gets a moment, which made me think he might have been the one going, because he's like, "This is the first time I feel really vulnerable. Like my morality, or not morality, mortality, I was meant to say, in this game could be running out kind of thing." And I'm like, yeah, you could be, but I'm sitting here thinking, you haven't thought about that before, buddy? Like, not everything is, Tai Chi and good vibes these days. Your neck could be on the chopping board any day. So,
right.
He didn't come off very strategical. So,
no.
Especially because everybody thought he had an idol when he doesn't. So, and he can't even use that to his advantage. So,
right.
So, the Bellos start talking. Kendra, she is all in on just getting rid of Bruce.
Right.
And hoping that the remaining... But she doesn't see it as Bello versus Reba, And it's funny, like, half the people see it that way and half of them don't. And it really isn't like that. It just happens to be that most people aligned happen to be from those tribes, but not everybody, you know. So it's basically coming down to Bruce or Sifu. Bruce even says he's getting overly paranoid. He might play his hidden immunity idol to save himself. He doesn't trust Kendra. Kelly's stuck in the middle, and that's where she says we could go either way. They tell Drew we're gonna vote. We're thinking Sifu. He says sure, but why not Bruce if you don't trust him? You know. And so it gets pretty hectic. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that. I'm kind of just droning on.
No, it's Kendra wanted Bruce out. I know that, you know, and she's wanted him out forever.
Yeah.
So,
well, so did Katurah. Everybody wants him out, it seems now. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's right. You're thinking
Katurah.
Thinking of Katurah. Kendra wants him out.
Kendra and Bruce haven't really had any contact. They've just kind of been randomly aligned, it seemed like, because when she does come and talk to him, say, hey, I'm going to vote with you, he's saying to Kelly, she's never talked to me. Why is she talking to me now? Is it because she actually wants to work with me, or because she just wants me to be comfortable and not play my idol? And it's like, oh my gosh, Bruce, it's fine to talk like that in a confessional, but when you start talking like that in front of your alliance members, that makes them nervous of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and so we get to tribal, and it's either going to be Bruce or Sifu. That's what it's looking like. You know?
Right.
And
and it was Sifu.
Yeah, it wound up being that Bruce didn't play his idol, which means they could have gotten him right then and there, but they didn't vote for him. But Sifu voted Bruce, and then everybody else voted Sifu.
Right. And to me, it was just like, okay.
Yeah, it kind of just, at this point, it makes sense, because I told you earlier on, like, hey, you know, we see a lot of Austin, and we see a lot of Caleb, and we see a lot of this person, you know, and we see nothing of, you know, Brando, J. Maya, and Sifu. I'm like, these are people that to me, based on how the show portrays them and the fact that they don't strategize much, they were, to me, people that might get a good ways in, but will just go at the merge because they aren't in tight with anybody.
Yeah.
And 1, 2, 3, there they all go.
Right,
you know?
Right.
So it just kind of makes sense because he's not in with anybody, really. You know, Drew even said, like, yeah, he's in our group, but he's not really in our alliance. So I'll get rid of him to save myself. And that's what I would have done too. You know, if I as long as it's not me and it's not someone in my alliance, burn them, you know, so.
Yeah, like for me, it was like, okay, he didn't add much to the show.
Yeah.
I mean, nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
The whole Tai Chi thing was kind of interesting.
I wish there was more to it than that.
Yeah, but other than that, I won't miss him.
Yeah.
You know.
And he was a good sport about it. He's like, hey, you guys got me. You know? So it was just kind of like, he was one of those people that's kind of there for the ride. And when the ride ran out, it's like, thanks for the fun. You know, it didn't come off as like someone trying to win a game. So.
Right.
So, he goes. Jeff says, go back to... Oh, well, one thing I would note is Drew does foolishly leave his bag at the original camp. So when they go to Lulu, they go from right there to tribal, and he doesn't have his safety without power advantage.
Right.
So he just has to stick it out because he thought about using it, but he don't have it. So I will say that is a detriment towards him. So it worked out. He didn't get booted, but still, you know, you always want to have that stuff at tribal with you. So
yeah, I mean, I thought they all carried their bags to these
challenges. Normally they do in case they got to go somewhere else. That's what I always thought.
Yeah.
Foolish decision, but
he didn't need it.
Yeah, so it worked out.
Yeah,
you know,
he got lucky.
Yeah, use it as a learning moment. So, so Jeff tells the 5 of them to go back to camp. So, and they do, and the main camp now.
Right.
And then our next 6 come in.
Right. And one of the things I want to mention is, like, prior to going to tribal, Caleb tells Katurah Bruce has an idol.
Right, to win her trust. That's right, because when they get to camp, they start strategizing. I guess we could talk about that. And the Rebas, specifically Dee, where she, you know, well, Julie's like, it would be stupid to not vote Caleb, and Dee agrees. The Rebas basically want to get, and well, Austin's there with them too, and so the 3 of them say it should still just be him. It makes the most sense, and they actually even ask one another, has that ever happened before, where the person who gets all the votes and saves themselves goes next? And I think it's Julie even says, nope. Normally, people stupidly change their plan, and then that person goes a lot farther. So,
Mm.
and they're right. A lot of times when somebody has everybody after them and they save themselves, they just don't become the target anymore all of a sudden. So,
Hmm.
which I think is kind of it's great for that person who made that move, but for everybody else, like, why would you not keep trying to get rid of them? So
Yeah,
if
when
there's
you
such a-
have all them votes against one person, all these people want them out, and then all of a sudden, you don't.
and you either benefit from getting well, you either look really good in the end of the game if nobody ever voted you because nobody ever wanted to get rid of you, but that can also be seen as a bad thing because no one sees you as a threat. But normally it's if people like you enough they keep you, or if you just have dozens of votes against you and you're still there. So
Mhm.
you know that's something to think about too. He could go, well, I've had 24 votes against me this entire game and I'm still sitting here, kind of thing, if he made it that far. So the Rebus say, let's get rid of him. The Rebus also say, we trust Jake, so they grab Jake and they say, it's Caleb. And he goes, okay. And to his credit, Jake says, I hate being told what to do. That's what's been happening. Just vote this way. He's like, I want to make some moves. I want to play this game, and I don't want Caleb to go.
Right.
And I like that. You alienate people when you just say, hey, you're not really in, but if you want to stick around, then you do what I tell you.
Mhm.
And then that makes that person instantly go, well, now I want to get rid of you because you think you're better than me because you have a little group or whatever.
Right.
So he tells Caleb, it's looking like it could be you. We got to grab Katura, and they're prepared to go to rocks, Caleb and the Bellows at first,
Right.
And I didn't really understand this line. They said, if we threaten rocks, because what happens in rocks is the person who's already got the necklace, they're still safe. The two people who are tied with the votes, they become safe. And then everybody who's deadlocked on the voting, they draw rocks, and one person randomly goes home. And they said Austin will play scared. Because they can't vote D, even though she's the one they want to get rid of. Julie, they think, would be too strong-willed, but they say Jake's like, Austin will play scared, meaning if we threaten him with rocks, he'll flip. I don't know if it's because Austin's like a bubbly guy or what. I don't know what he's done that makes them think he'll go, I gotta save myself. I don't like that terminology, playing scared.
Yeah.
First of all, he's got multiple advantages. He does well in challenges. He's brighter than he lets on to people.
Mhm.
I don't know what he's shown that makes them think he's so nervous about something like that, because we never see what he says about something like that.
I don't know either.
What makes them think? Maybe they just meant he's the best chance of that happening, and then if they just go to rocks, they go to rocks anyway. But they made it sound like, oh, for sure, he's not going to let it get to that point. What makes you think that?
Well, I'm trying to look at who's here. Austin, yeah, Julie, D. I guess, okay, so Julie, Austin, D, and Drew, who was on the other one, the other one, but they're a core four.
Yeah, they're the arguably biggest alliance in the game.
Okay, if you do look at them four,
Mm-hmm.
if I were to pick one of them that, I guess, I don't know about flipping, but like personality wise and the way they're playing the game, I guess I could look at Austin and go, he might flip.
He'd be the most willing to save himself by getting rid of one of them.
Yeah.
Because they're voting for Julie, is what the Bellows are trying to do.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it was weird way worded, saying he play, because it didn't sound like he will play scared. They said he plays scared. I'm like, when has he done that? The dude's gambling his votes away to maintain an immunity idol. Not that they know that, but it's like, we see it that way. I don't know how he's been playing scared. It just came off as weird to me. But I get Julie does seem more like the kind of just go down with the ship rather than, get risky with her morals or whatever, compared to Austin, who might go, well, for my sake, bye-bye,
Right.
So,
yeah.
I don't know, it just came off as weird to me. I don't know.
Yeah, now that you've brought it up, I do remember them saying that. I didn't put much thought into it at the time, but I do remember that. So, but yeah, as far as like Julie and D, they're like tight. She calls her Mama something.
Yeah, I think they call her Mama J or something that. Or Mama Jules? I don't know.
And Julie, she just seems like, no, our four,
Yeah.
we gotta.
I like the way Julie thinks. She has like an old school survivor mentality. Because when they're at the, there's been times where earlier on, she's like, guys, why do you gotta get rid of the muscle? It'll screw us down in the next challenges. who knows how long until we merge? We used to talk like that, you
Yeah.
know, and that's how people used to think. Even at the sanctuary, she's like, I'm sitting here eating with these people, and they're like, oh yeah, let's not discuss. She's like, what's to discuss? We're voting Caleb again, right? He can't go on. It's like, I like how her mind works in this game. So, yeah, she's... And again, she's one of the older contestants. She's like 49,
I think.
Something like that. It's not that old. It's Survivor old or whatever. But she has the old schooler mentality of get an alliance, ride it out, and pick each other off at the end because you made it that far.
Right.
At least right now, that's where she's at. And it also makes the most sense. They all trust each other. You're just going to start randomly voting with these other people until then they randomly vote against you, you know? I don't like that.
Yeah,
so.
right. No, she's got a good way of playing. So... I mean, I don't like the fact she wants Caleb out because he was one of my number ones.
Right.
You know.
But when we get to Tribal, and so, you know, Jeff asks Caleb, you know, he's like, are you still a big threat? And he's like, oh, I still feel it, you know. And he's like, but I'm trying to, you know, I got nothing to lose, you know, so I'm willing to do whatever it takes to keep me here. And and he still doesn't think he's as bad as some other people to get rid of.
Yeah.
Especially because the Bellows, they fear Dee. And especially because she won the immunity now, they know she's, you know, and she does, I guess she strategizes. I don't know. A lot of people seem to like her and think she's going to do great. I don't dislike her. I just haven't been that impressed either. You know, good she won the challenge. Yeah. And so they're like, yeah, we want to deal with her, so we got to take out her number one or whatever. And so I was prepared for a 3-3 split. But earlier we do see Katurah saying, I don't know what I want to do because it could be risky to try and protect Caleb, who could just beat me anyway, by risking myself, because she won't be one of the people getting voted for. And, you know, when Rox comes, she would risk herself. She's like, so I may have to vote with the Rebas. I don't know. So you go in, and it's one or the other. It's either Julie or it's Caleb.
Right.
Sadly, it was Caleb.
Yep.
It was 2-4, I believe, because Katurah flipped and voted him off just to kind of save herself. So,
and that's what I have right here. Katurah sucks shit.
Oh, I see the picture where it's like, wah.
Yeah. I was very upset. He's such a, you know, well, he's a kid to me. You know, he's such a great kid. He's got this smile that lights up a room.
Yeah.
He's so nice.
He's a good guy.
Great in challenges. You know, just a really great personality and attitude. And she's, you know, her flipping on him. It's like, have you no loyalty to anybody? You know, so yeah, I was very upset. And she could suck shit.
Well, I don't blame you. I don't want to be like, oh, you know, I called it. He completely felt like to me like, oh, this guy he's so fun to watch. He's super athletic, does great in challenges. He lifts people up rather than tearing them down. He's pleasant to be around. And I'm like, I would want him to win at the final 3, which is why all these bastards are going to get rid of him way before that. I could feel it in my gut. He's the Ozzy, or, you know, he's the
Joe.
Yeah, the Joe, you know, the guy that, you know, the JT, the person that everybody loves and thinks is wonderful, and there's no way you're allowed to make it to the end, because if you do, you're going to win, basically. So it'd be very hard for him to get to the end and not win, I think, especially because people are going, he's a threat, and then to avoid that the whole time, so, or they'd have to be pretty stupid to let him get to the end. So
yeah,
I didn't want him to go, but that's why I said I don't think it's going to be him who wins as much as I want him to, because everybody's going to gun for a guy like that. So,
yeah.
And so sadly, he goes. Believe me, I would have rather Katurah got voted off.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't want Julie to go either. I like Julie, but...
I mean, anybody but my top 3 could go. I don't care.
I like a good chunk of these people, like, in general, but yeah, I have my preferred phases. Like, if it's between X or Y, I want it to be Y and not X or whatever, so...
Yeah, I don't know. It's, yeah, you're right, though. If he went to the end, it would be very hard not to vote for him. Yeah,
I think so anyway. Unless he started playing like a complete jerk all of a sudden, but that's not going to happen. So
as far as the other players and how they're playing, they strategically made the right.
It's a smart move to just ensure he is gone, so he can't go on some kind of immunity run or something. Because we've seen people win 4 or 5 times in a row. not only does it make them look really good, but you can't get rid of them. And then by the time you're ready to get rid of them, they could befriend a bunch of people and they'll keep them or whatever. So, and it gets really, and the next thing you know, it's Final Four, and the last 3 people are trying to get rid of him, and he makes it through fire or whatever. So
Yeah.
there's just, it's better to get rid of someone like that early now that they're merged and you don't need to rely on them in challenges. So
True. Yeah.
as a viewer, sucks.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
a player, they made the right move. So
But he is on the jury.
yes, that's
First
correct.
person.
Sifu is no more. Caleb is the first jury member.
So we'll still see him.
We'll still see him. He just can't play anymore. So, but yeah, he'll still be around every tribal. So
Yeah.
yay!
Yeah.
and he'll get a better pay bonus at the end of the show, which is always nice because if you make it to that phase, you get paid more than if you were voted out before that. So
Okay, good.
excuse me. So yeah, sadly, Caleb is gone. We are now down to only 10 as everybody comes back together. And I'm assuming next episode we'll find out, Emily's reaction to it, of course.
Yeah.
So,
But she did say that, I know she said something like, if he has to go, he has to go from my game.
She can't stick her neck out for him too much or she'll become a threat too,
Exactly,
because they
yeah.
know she'll do anything for him. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it-
it was only them two. I mean, she's
Yeah.
got that thing kind of with Drew and Austin, right? And
yeah, I don't know how much of an alliance it is, but they've worked together,
Right.
and she even said, "I want to try and solidify things with them, so they'll stick." And that's the thing for that Reba 4, she could be a good 5th because we're down to 10, and because of Sifu and Caleb gone, we're down to 4 Rebas, 1 Lulu, and then the 5 Bellows. Of course, the Bellows are very fractured, everybody trusts Kelly, and then everybody else is willing to kind of take one another out, it seems like. So, but if they want to take out the Rebas, they need to stick together, because you were at 5, 4, and 1.
Right.
So Emily can go either way. I almost think she'd be better sticking with the Rebas, but we'll
I
see.
do too. And I think too with her, because she's one of my top 2 now. I will never let it down. But if she stays a little bit under the radar with that group, votes with them, and is loyal to them, they may not look at her for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that's what happens.
She can skirt on by.
Because she's very smart.
Mhm.
Like I said, in these other challenges, she's gone gung-ho. And the way she speaks, she's so articulate, and you can tell when she's speaking that she's strategic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying, like, back off on that a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
And vote with your alliance, quote unquote alliance.
Yeah.
And show them your loyalty, and maybe you'll stay
Safe.
longer
Yeah.
and safe. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she could be looked at as an easy vote because it's like, oh, nobody's aligned with her or whatever. But to me, that's dumb. You'd want to pull somebody like that in and make them your number. And then in her case, just vote with the majority as much as you can. And not only will they trust you, but no one will look at you then. So
Yeah. The only problem with that too is she's with, like, okay, say she is Austin and Dee, who we see here are, Austin's very athletic and all that, and Dee just wanted immunity, hanging onto that pole and that. So, what was my point?
how far do you go with them?
Yeah, because they're going to be targeted
Mm-hmm.
because of that. If like, say, Dee keeps winning immunities, and then
Yeah.
or maybe Austin starts winning them,
Well, yeah, Dee is athletic and can be strategic. Austin is quite athletic, very pleasant to be around also. He's like a mini Caleb, but he's got his own personality and everything too.
Sure.
But he's a fun guy.
Yeah.
And he can be strategic. Drew, although not very physically capable, is overly strategic. He does a lot of the plotting and kind of looks like the villain of the group because he's making these, like, he's viewing people more, like, less emotionally and everything. He's
Yeah.
like the strategizer.
Yeah.
And then Julie is quite pleasant to be around, and she's quite strategic as well. So
Yeah.
that group of 4, any one of them could have a decent shot at the end, I think, if they made it, depending on who they go against. Like, if they went against Caleb, no, but because he's gone, they have better odds now.
Yeah.
Comparing them to the Bellows, I think Emily still has, like, the best shot, but out of everybody else, there's got to be 3 at the end, So those Rebas are all arguably threats for various reasons. So
Yeah.
so you could align with them, and then hopefully they start gunning for each other before they gun for you if you go really far with them. or they just all get picked off because everybody else in the game says they're threats. So
yeah.
we have a very interesting dynamics coming up. So,
yeah.
speaking of interesting things coming up, the Survivor auction is back! We see in the trailer for next episode. It has been gone since season 30, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's considered one of the most, like, favored, it's not a challenge or events in Survivor. You know, everybody loves tribal, everybody loves, you know, like, specific kinds of challenges or whatever. But it was such a popular thing, you know, and I remember watching I think the first time they did it was in season 2 in Australia, and it was so bad. Like, you know, you get the $500 and Jeff is saying $100 for four chips and a tiny glass thing of salsa. And I'm like, are you kidding me? These people are like dying of starvation, and that's all, you know. And then over time it got, you know, the food got really big. Jeff would cover some of it. There could be a letter from home or whatever, and then once in a while there was an advantage that someone could win, you know, or you could win like a shower or something too. So and it got really interesting seeing how people use their money and stuff. But eventually the players started to rig it. I know, because there was
Did you say rig it?
Yeah, rig it.
Oh,
like,
okay.
you know, they would kind of see through and that's the problem with Survivor. They reuse shit so much that you figure it out. You know, in the previous season, we saw, you know, someone like Carson who practiced the puzzles, and then he got one, and he blew it away out of the water, everyone out of the water, because he was just so good at it. Well, this season, I've noticed Jeff saying, we got a brand new challenge. You know, the endurance ones are different. That's just how good you are at it. You can't fool that one. But the puzzles and stuff, Jeff's been changing the puzzles, I've noticed, to avoid that from happening. And so the big issue was in season 30, you don't remember him, I don't know why, but his name was Mike. It was like blue collar, white collar, no collar. He was on the blue collar. He was like a firefighter or something. Or I don't know if he was a firefighter, but he was a big, strong guy.
I mean, if I saw his picture,
you'd probably
I'd
recognize
remember.
him. I didn't like him very much, and you were dying for him to win it.
Really?
The whole show.
And I can't remember him.
Yeah. And so the big thing was he had already won a couple immunities, and he'd been pulling advantages out of his butt. And he had some alliance members, but he was a big threat. Well, at the auction, out of like the last 8 people, 4 people are waiting for the advantage that they know Jeff is going to propose at some point. Because he's like, all this food, you guys aren't putting any money up. And he's like, you're waiting for something special. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, how about this? And he pulls out letters from home. Well, and he's like, he's like, what do you bet? And before anyone can say anything, one girl goes, hold up. She's like, guys, I've seen this before. Someone can say 20, and then afterwards, Jeff will say, if anybody else wants it, you can put in that same amount and get it too, so it's fair. Instead, because normally they fight over it for 160 or whatever, and then he'd say, anybody want to match that and get it too?
Oh.
Well, and so she goes 20, and so everybody gets it, and then the 4 that are waiting for the advantage, they say, well, if we all put 20, we'll still be even. And so they go to do it. Well, that Mike, he grabs the letter and he backs out to try and keep the money and screw the rest of them over. And they all get mad and they start ripping into him. And so he ends up going even. Because then all 4 of them go in on the advantage and someone randomly wins it. So.
Oh, okay.
And so not only did that sink his social game because everybody was pissed at him for playing.
What do you mean he grabbed a letter? And I don't
So there's
understand.
letters and you grab your letter and then you give Jeff $20.
Okay.
So they all grab their letters, give Jeff 20. He grabs his letter, waits for them all to walk, and then he puts the letter back in and doesn't hand Jeff the money. So then he sits there with 500, and they're all at 480, in hopes that when Jeff goes advantage, he goes, I got the most money, I just get it.
Oh,
and
that was pretty smart, though.
It is, but they were all livid because Jeff's like, wait, Mike, did you grab your? And he's like, oh, you're not? And he's like, nope. And so and then they all stand up and they're like, fine, I don't get my letter from home either then if you're going to play that way. And so they're all pissed because they don't get their letters because they were going to make a fair agreement because the advantage only goes to one person.
Oh, okay. So it was like amongst them. They're like, okay, if we do this, we'll all give 20. We'll all get our letters.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Like all of them said
They
yes?
all looked at each other and said, why don't we do that? Because we're all holding out for the advantage. The advantage is normally either an idle clue or, or something else.
Okay,
and
I
so
get it now.
and then for the advantage, you all put in for it. Jeff has whoever's there draw rocks, and then whoever gets the one rock gets the advantage. Of course, everybody knows you get the advantage, but you beat everyone for it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was trying to sneak by them and do that, and Jeff kind of just was surprised and is like, oh, you're not. And they're like, and so they were mad because they don't get their letters from home if they want to try and one up, and match him. So he does end up taking the letter because he feels bad about it, but they were already against him. And he makes it to the end and he still wins, but everybody hated him because of that. So
I don't know how I feel about that.
Do
you remember how I felt about it?
You seem to not care. As far as you're like, I don't see what the big deal is. He's just playing the game. I saw it as if I was sitting there, I'd be pissed too because I'd want to hear from you or dad or my wife or whatever. And in order to stop him from just winning an advantage, I'd have to give that up because he wouldn't agree to fair play almost.
Yeah.
So be it. But I would hold it against him. And even if I got over it, I'd use it to sink his social game for sure. So everybody thought he was a jackass so he couldn't win,
Yeah.
At the end, he ends up apologizing. There were other things he did that turned people against him beginning, and that just was like the nail in the coffin. And it caused so much drama that season, and because they were kind of rigging the auction, Jeff didn't say anything. They just never did it again. But then in interviews, they'd ask Jeff, and he'd be like, I don't know how to fix it. And me and other fans would be like, here's how you fix it. And we give him a bunch of suggestions. I always said, tell them there's no betting on advantages. Or bidding. You can't bid on advantages. However, random food items might have one in there. So you never know what it's gonna be. That way someone could still get an advantage and shake things up, but you gotta bid on the shit to get it. And you can't guarantee it. That's how you stop people from rigging it, because then they don't know what's what,
Right.
So then they just start going
That
long
would
hungry.
actually be a good way of doing it. Here you think you're getting, you keep it covered.
You keep, or if it's food, you stuff the advantage in it, and Jeff you put in like a little metal thing or whatever, like that, like the scrolls for the advantages are, and you tell them randomly in something is an advantage.
Yeah.
But I'm not telling you what it is, so you just have to hope somebody buys
Why
it.
tell them at all?
Well, you could do that, I guess.
You know what I mean? Hide it in the food.
Yeah, we'll see what they do
so they
here.
don't bite into it or
Right,
nothing,
well, yeah. Well, like, we've seen at like rewards, they open up like they have like those like they look like the Chinese finger traps, but they're cookies. And then someone finds a clue wrapped up to look like the cookies.
Yeah.
So like just do that with the auction food or something. That would be my suggestion. I went on that whole tangent, but I'm excited.
You're excited.
I like the auction. I think it's fun seeing how people bid on the stuff, what comes out of it and everything.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to fill their bellies,
The one thing I hate is when they get a big chocolate cake and they dig into it with their hands and mouths and stuff.
Well,
That's
yeah,
disgusting.
I hate that he tells them you get 1 minute to eat as much as possible. Just let them eat it and give them a fork,
Yeah.
Because that's why they do it. They,
I guess if it were me, I'd be using my hands, of course, too, because how else are you supposed to eat it? So,
anyway, so the auction's coming back next episode. We're down to 10 people. And because of those 10 people, I'm going to ask you, as painful as it is, Mom, who are the 3 people that you either want to win or think just will win?
It has to be 3 again?
Yes, it has to be 3. That's what makes this interesting. You have to change your empty options.
Well, okay. All right. I'm going to still Emily and Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Those are still 2. I've been kind of liking Jake.
Okay.
Especially the fact that he wanted to save Caleb.
Mm-hmm. It all stems
it's by
from
association.
It all stems from the source.
People are going to think I got a thing for the kid, but I don't. I'm happily married.
He's 28.
Yeah. He's just, a lot of times when there's these young guys, because I have a young son, and I find him to be, not like he's like you, but
charming.
Gorgeous. All that stuff, of course.
Humble.
But anyway, but I also like he didn't take their crap and go, no, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to vote the way I want to vote.
I respect Jake for that. Like, stand up for yourself.
Jake's my 3rd now.
Okay, he's your new 3rd.
How about you?
it hasn't really changed for me. I'm definitely gonna say Emily. Her underdog story has been really good, and she's changed as a person. Austin, just fun to watch, and like I said, he's proving to be more strategic than he lets on.
Mhm.
And I just love that he has a sandwich vendetta against the girls. So I think that's great. I don't blame him for it. And I'm gonna keep saying Kelly. The longer this goes on, the more we see of her. She's still in this middle position, under the radar kind of thing. Everybody seems to trust her and like her.
Yeah.
I think
It's
she's
not like her name has come up or anything.
no. I don't, knock on wood, I don't think it will for a while, until like we get to 6 people or whatever, where there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
I mean, she can continue to hide behind Jake, Bruce, Drew, these people who are seen as threats or whatever.
Right.
Or just as people want gone. But so I'm gonna keep saying Kelly. I the longer this goes on, the more I have this weird feeling she's gonna be the winner. If I believe it or
Really?
not, just they're trying to set up. I don't know. If Emily wins, great. It almost seems like she's too obvious based on the edit of the show, going like, look at her, everything's from her point of view. Oh, and she gets snuffed by this person who's the actual winner. We gotcha. I'm not saying I'm rooting for that to happen. I just feel like I'm like, are they going for some kind of like, ooh, you didn't see this coming, so watch it again and you'll see it coming kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's still plenty of time to tell, but we're running out of people, so it's getting...
see, you're looking at it because you watch other shows about it, and I don't.
Mhm.
And so I don't like to go, well, you know who I think is going to win? And I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm just saying I'm going by who I like, who I think has a chance, and not how many confessionals they have or... You know what I mean? So,
which I get. It's just, and that's why I say, who do you want or think?
Right.
That's why I do both. Like, Austin is a pure want. I just want him to win because I like him so much. Emily is like both, if I'm being honest. I like her and would want her to win, but I also think she's being visually set up, and just her story. Like, if she gets to the end, she's winning kind of thing. If you're ever... She's the last one standing of her tribe with these 2 warring factions, around her. So,
yeah, that's a good story.
And then Kelly, I do like Kelly. She just comes off to me as like, if somebody who's not in the limelight's winning this, it would be her. So
okay,
but
good to know. We'll see.
We'll
you
see
wanna
what
bet
happens.
on it?
I'll bet you a week's worth of dishes.
Oh, hey, that's a lot to me. No, it's
kidding.
best not to bet with family.
I'll bet you a big fat "I told you so." Whoever is right gets to say that to the other, I guess. So
okay.
And then the other one can't be spiteful about it. So
all right.
Well, I guess that's all we have to say about this episode. Although it was shorter, we had a lot to say, apparently.
Well, you went off on a tangent about next week, so...
Well, because I'm excited for the auction.
I know.
Fight me, so... And I'll go on to a tangent about it when we get to watch it, too.
Oh, I know.
So, anyways, thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your days, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.